This is the 2800 Ego snowblower. It's the 28-inch wide auger, and this is my third season using it, or will be my third season. I've done a few other videos, one major one for each season, and a few others talking about it. And so far, it's been great. Today, I am going to do some maintenance, which is like ridiculously minor, and I'm going to take part of it apart so we can see what some of it looks like and how this thing is made. Surprised I haven't done it before. I usually take things apart all the time. I can't help it. And follow along, and you know, if you're thinking of getting one of these, or if you have one, maybe there'll be some information here that will be of benefit to you. Season, and I've got my 28-inch Ego snowblower out here, and to tell you the truth, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. And what is it that I've been wanting to do? I've been wanting to take it apart. Now, I do this with trepidation because, you know, I've done this in the past with things and regretted it, but I kind of can't help myself, so let's do this. Now, I've taken the bolt and the washer off this wheel, and that's basically all that you need to take this off. And it comes off, and there's the shaft, and there's the geared spline, and there's another gear here with a nylon one right there. Let's get closer in to take a look at it. Okay, so here's the inside rim of the wheel, and there's the spline, and that goes right into there. And here's the shaft, and there's another gear right here. And I believe that's probably the drive gear. And you can see a large nylon gear right here. Now, when I first saw this gear in online videos, I was thinking, whoa, is that plastic? Hopefully not. Hopefully it's at least nylon. But still, right? And then I did some research into it, and if you would look at this gear, and I can't show you on here, but I did see it online, there's a triangle symbol with, I believe, a P in it, and that means it is a fiberglass infused nylon gear. They were developed by the auto industry to try to reduce weight, to get rid of steel gears, and the strength ratio for this gear is nearly the same as steel. So I don't know why they're using it on here, except it may be cheaper, or they may just trying to be a little more high tech or something. But I'm satisfied with the potential strength of this gear, even though it is not metal. Now, if anybody is foolish enough like me to want to do this, I will tell you that the wheels come off very easily, and hopefully they'll go on easily too. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of these small Torx screws on the side and take this bottom cover off, because I just want to take a look. There's nothing to do in here. Nothing's broken, but I have to look. This is a T20 wrench, and with a little luck, I won't drop anything here in the grass. I probably should have left it on the tar. Okay, it's a small screw, about an inch and a half long, and there's a number of them, so I will take them out and I'll get back to you. Okay, I've got all the screws off this cover, and I have taken a look. Now, don't laugh, because there is an explanation here, okay? Oops. Anyway, this right in here is the drive motor. Now, this is very interesting to me, because I'm thinking, whoa, is this small or what? And I am seeing that, you know, there's a set of planetary gears in here, a nylon gear housing, and shaft here for the drive wheels, and another one here, I would imagine, for the left and right turning radius. And that's all must be controlled in here with the gearing set up. Now, you may be wondering about this motor. And I've looked up the number that's on the side of the motor here online. And this motor is small, but it is relatively powerful. Well, research on this particular motor that Ego uses is very, very sketchy, even using AI. But I took a picture of it. Miss Moneypenny, my AI representative, took a look at it. And it said it's probably doing a maximum of about 45 foot-pounds. It's probably rotating at 1 to 2,000 RPMs. And it probably has a ratio of speed to torque of about a factor of 10. So that this is an industrial motor, but it's not used in heavy duty industrial applications, just moderate duty, but it's not lightweight either, and it's a brushless motor. So when you have these motors that are used in industrial applications or robotics, they aren't necessarily large at all. They just use a gearing ratio, of course, using the brushless technology to make the batteries more efficient. Yeah, it looks a little bizarre, but it does work. So this thing is going fast. These wheels are going really slow, so this gearing must be way down. Now, I'm not going to take it apart, but I'm looking down in here at the motor that's used to drive the impeller and the auger, and it looks much bigger. And that would make sense since this is a high-speed motor geared down to run wheels at very low speed, because this spins at up to 2,000 RPMs. The wheels, are really, really tiny compared to that as far as the speed is concerned. But when you have an impeller, it has to be really winding up. So this motor has to be a lot larger in here because the gearing reduction, if there's any at all, is much less, and it may be actually geared up. So this motor must be much more powerful and much larger, which makes sense because if you just drive the snowblower around, it hardly chews into the batteries at all. But if you turn the auger up, that's when the batteries see noticeable discharge. And fortunately, you can keep them on very low to move fairly deep snow. So that's why I've been having very good luck with using these 12-amp batteries and being able to getting done anything I want without having to recharge them. So I'll give you a little closer look at this, and then I'll put it back together, and we're going to do some other stuff. Now, as far as maintenance on this thing goes, there really isn't any. I have it up on a wall here because I don't want to bend over all the time to do this, and it makes it so much easier getting up at this level. But what I've got is I've got some Johnson's Pace Wax, which of course they don't make anymore. And for anybody who does any woodworking, you know what that means, because we use it to put on our power tools. And there's other good waxes. There are good waxes available, but this has very little of anything besides wax and very few resins and stuff. But one thing it does do is it sticks. It really sticks. We used to use this a long time ago to put on vinyl floors, and you'd wax your floors with it over a period of a few times, and then you had to get down with ammonia to take it off. They would call cutting the wax before you could put any more wax on because it would build up in layers. So this does wear off on an application like this, but boy, it really sticks for a long time. And it's very slippery. If I put it on my power tools, the bare top of my table saw is almost like an air hockey table when I put wood on it. So good stuff. Now, you don't have to do this, but I do it for a couple of reasons. One is to protect the metal, of course. And the second reason is to make it slick so the snow doesn't stick, and it makes things a lot easier for the snowblower as a result. Now, I found that the enamel on this snowblower is really good compared to even commercial gas models. Those seem to be like just painted, and when something hits the bell of the snowblower, you'll see chips, and then you got to start, either greasing or oiling them, or touching them up with a little Rust-Oleum if you can find the right color to match, because a lot of them are red or orange. I found that the enamel on this really isn't affected much by that stuff because across the road I have an area where I have to go through crushed rock, and that crushed rock really dings up my old airings. And I've touched it up a few times, even though that old airings is pretty tough. And as a result, I've gotten some rust over time, but the thing is 24 years old. With this one, I don't see any of that going on as far as things like having to do with the rocks. So, I'm hoping that the enamel on this bell is of good quality. It appears to be. I know I did mic the steel, and the steel is thicker than it is on my gas blower. And I always thought the gas blower was pretty thick. Now, one area that is showing a little rust, a little scraping, is right in there inside the bottom of the machine. So I would imagine anything that does get down there, like gravel, is being scraped by the blades. And I can see a few scratch marks and a little rust. So I'm going to pay particular attention to that. And eventually, down the road, I will get in there somehow with some enamel and touch that up. But right now, waxing it will be fine, and it really doesn't seem to be that bad at this point. So I won't be working on it now. Now with this stuff, what you do is you let it dry till it's kind of cloudy, like any good wax. If you use paste wax, you know what I mean, or any other wax actually, until it's kind of cloudy, and then you wipe it off. And in this application, if I didn't wipe it off, or I wiped it off very poorly, which won't be easy to do because it's very convoluted in here, but it doesn't matter because it'll still be slippery. And after I take it out in a blizzard, the stuff that should have been wiped off, the residue, will probably be gone for the most part. Now, this is the maintenance that I do on this machine. On my gas blower, which I still have, by the way, and it still runs good after 24 years. I used to do this, kind of gave up after several years because it got old. But, it would be an oil change, greasing in several areas, taking the gearbox cover off, greasing some of the gears, checking the drive disc plate, and then if I get around to it, I might wax it up. Waxing the inside of the chute here All of the business end of this machine is metal. You see plastic covers over the battery compartment and the control panel up there, a few places like that. But it's basically metal. And the metal, when I went to get it, I made sure it looked thick enough and the enamel looked good enough on it. Now, this will be my third season with this snowblower. And so far, it's been really good. If you look at some of my other videos, and at the end of this video, I'll put a link to the first video I did with this, which is the most extensive and the most comprehensive, and also a link to the playlist for all of the ego tools that I've used and reviewed and talked about. But back to this. So far, the snowblower has been really good. It's comparable to my 10 horsepower Aaron's, which I've been using for a very long time. Has been a very good snowblower as far as performance is concerned, maybe a little bit better. Now, it weighs about 100 pounds less, and that has a good and a bad side to it. My Aaron's is heavy. I mean, you have to wrestle with it sometime. It's 270 pounds, I think, 78 pounds, but it's very mobile and it runs really good. As I get older, I'm 70. It's getting a little more of a beast to work with, but it's still good. And it's my backup now. It's out to pasture. It's never given me any trouble at all. This one is different, beyond being electric and so forth, in different ways. One, of course, is 100 pounds lighter. So you'd be thinking, well, do you need that mass to power through snow? And the answer is kind of yes and no, but the ego kind of compensates for it. With the gas blower, the engine sits over the wheels. And as a result, one, you get really decent traction. And two, the weight being on the back tends to want to lift the front up a little bit. Now, it's not much of a problem unless I start going uphill on the end of my driveway, or if I come to a large, fairly hard snowbank, come up to it, it tends to want to ride up over the top because the engine is in the rear, providing great traction, but wanting to go up and over. This normally you'd think wouldn't have as good traction because there's not nearly as much weight over the wheels. And I think a lot of that extra 100 pounds that my Aaron's is weight of engine, which this doesn't have. But one thing that this does have is the nose is longer, so that the weight of the machine is more front heavy. And I noticed that a lot. With my Aaron's, what I would do is sometimes when I wanted to grease it, I would just tip it back on its handlebars and it would stay there. I mean, the weight was in the back. It wanted to go down. With this one, when I tip it back, it's barely heavy enough to stay there. I have to kind of prop it up with a piece of 2x4 in order to work on the front. Now, I'm not greasing it. This is in the past when I've done waxing and stuff, because there are no grease fittings on this. Is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know. Is it like replace seal bearings after a while no matter what, or grease the ones you have and they last a long time? So far so good, but there are no grease fittings. There are shear pin holes with bolts in them, but there are no grease fittings. So this has really, the nose stays down pretty good, as good or better than my Aaron's. And the traction, well, it's really good for a couple of reasons. One, it has these really wide, flat tires. My gas blower, it has tires that aren't quite as wide, and they're more rounded. These are it's like a flat top crew cut. My Aaron's, because we started to get more ice with climate change than we used to get, I put chains on it. I didn't want to do that to this. I didn't want to chance that rough riding on the electric mechanism in the back. It can be rough on a gas blower too. My gas blower was really old. I only did it a couple of years ago, so it was okay. But what I did do with these is I bought some stainless steel 1/2 inch hex bolts, and I drilled holes and I screwed them in. So now they're kind of like studded tires, and it works really good. It When I hit ice, it scratches it, it digs in, and it gets me over the ice, and I don't have to do any pushing at all. But the flat tires, along with those studded tires, gives me pretty good traction. And since it's electric, if I have the wheels going very slow, you can make them creep. And when you can make a vehicle creep, you normally get better traction. And that's why a lot of tractors are geared very, very low. So you get good traction in soft soils, for example. So, as far as drive is concerned, I don't notice it being a problem, even though the machine's lighter. And as far as it riding up, it doesn't ride up any more than any other snowblower, and possibly less, because the bell housing is taking a lot of the weight on the front. Coming into my third season, would I get this again? Yeah, I would. Um, it it's kind of cool. Okay, that's one thing, but the performance of it is really good. If someone has maybe an equivalent 8 horsepower, which is kind of a smaller two-stage snowblower, and you're finding that if you went to a larger one, if you tried the 10 or 11 horse like I have, I mean, you find it much too unwieldy. Maybe, you know, you don't have as much strength as the next person, or maybe you're a woman and you need something a little bit smaller. You can actually get something more powerful like this 28-inch, because it actually weighs probably less than the smaller Aaron's would, or the smaller gas power goods, Aaron's, because that's the brand I have. And it's really quite manageable. I put the battery in this to wheel it up the driveway and stuff, but I wouldn't need to do it. I could just push it around. With my big snowblower, I could do that, but it would be quite a push. The caveats, as always, to any of these tools, and particularly this very expensive one, is a few. One, how long is it going to last? You saw the size of that motor inside. I'm not too worried about it, because I do know that robotic devices, even robots' arms on car assembly lines, the motors are small in comparison to the unit, because they move fast, they provide a lot of torque because of the gearing. That's the way brushless electric motors are. But these are still relatively new, so will they last 24 years like my Aaron's? I doubt it. I doubt it. They're repairable, but I understand you send them away and they stay away a long time, and the parts are expensive. Like the motor gearbox for the 2400, the 24-inch one like this, is $700. When you look at it online, I haven't seen this one on sale as a part yet. I hope they do have parts for it, because it looks pretty straightforward as far as repairing a lot of this stuff. But let's say the thing was like 8 or 10 years old, and something went on it. Do you spend $700 or $800 for a new drive motor, or do you just put several $100s more and buy a new tool, or maybe change out completely? I don't know. So the longevity of the machine is still a mystery. So far, so good for me. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. And of course, the other thing is these. This thing comes with 12-amp batteries, and I can see why, because these will last me a long time. They'll do the driveway and my neighbor's driveway, whatever I need. And they're so convenient. You charge them and you pop them in, and then you go. But they are expensive. These two batteries together are about $1,000. And they have a 5-year warranty. These 12-amp ones, bought with this machine, but registered as a residential product, not commercial, have a 5-year warranty. So if they go 5 years, that's great. But then if they should die right after that, you have to, and if I don't know if they both go at the same time, but let's say they did, it would cost you $1,000 to replace them. If they go longer than that, like they could go 9 or 10 years, lithium is capable of doing that. That would really be spectacular. But I'm thinking maybe 8 years if I'm lucky. That would be okay with me, and it would be acceptable for the convenience of using this, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, about that. One thing about these batteries that you can look at is the batteries are not the power. The electricity in the batteries is the power. This is really a fuel tank. This is a $500 fuel tank, $1,000 if you take them together. So that I can take this fuel tank and I can buy another bare tool, like the backpack leaf blower that I have that has 2 batteries in it. And I can use this fuel tank, both of these fuel tanks, in that leaf blower, and I don't have to buy a new fuel tank. So it goes, and I actually go for multiple tools. I have a half dozen of these tools, but I have the 5 amp batteries for the other ones because usually the lawnmower doesn't need that much, and the chainsaw and a few other tools really don't need this big a battery, and particularly if I'm carrying around, it's a lot lighter. The backpack handles these well. It's got a really good harness on, so I don't mind. But you can use your fuel tank in a number of different tools, and you don't have to buy a whole lot of fuel tanks. But when the fuel tank dies, all your tools don't work, and you have to buy another fuel tank. So I am satisfied with this product. And you'll see me probably in a blizzard this year if we get one, which hopefully we will, we should. And you'll see me in year 4 next year. And if this is still going well, I will make a short video and you will see that. And if it has given me any trouble, I will tell you exactly what has happened and what I had to do to get it resolved should I have decided to get it resolved. If you're thinking of getting one of these, it's an expensive device and you're taking some chances. I don't recommend it maybe for a young person with their first snowblower that can do this once. And if they have to back up and punt, it's going to be a major financial hassle for them. Maybe you'd want to too. It's taking a chance. This could work out to be the best thing that ever happened. I don't know. But, if you can afford it, you're willing to take a chance, I can tell you that it does work, and it does work really good. So thank you for watching this again. I hope this helps. I'm doing it because I wish some of these videos were around for me when I was trying to buy some of these tools. Usually the videos are like showing people using them, and they're using things like, oh, it's a beast and all this stuff. But we need reality when you're talking about thousands of dollars, and that's what I'm trying to provide if I can. And I'm an old guy who knows how to use a computer, and I'm just having fun doing it too.